Welcome back to another video, everybody. In this video, I'm gonna go over my color grading process for a recent short film that I put out on my YouTube channel called The Sierra Buttes. Now, this video was just a short, quick travel video that I created with just the Sony a7 III, a 24 to 105 millimeter lens, and a variable ND filter. That's all I had with me, and I'm really proud and happy with the outcome of it. I think the colors, the vibe of everything was just really fantastic. So I thought I'd run through my Premiere project, show you kind of how I pieced it together and how I color graded it, and hopefully it'll answer a couple of questions. Now quickly, if you haven't seen the video, I'm gonna link it up here and in the description down below. If you have any other questions that pop up, make sure to drop them as comments as well. I usually get back to people within a couple of days, so I'll probably answer your question as soon as I can. And without further ado, let's jump into Premiere so I can show you how I color graded this piece. So here we are in the Premiere file, and it's a pretty simple layout here. You can see that I just have one track for all my videos, all my video clips right here. I've got two adjustment layers on the top that I'll go through in just a second. I have one audio track that is a scratch audio track from the camera, which I muted because it doesn't sound very good. I've got some sound effects here, some music here, and then all of these other blue are just kind of various sound effects that I put throughout this piece. So what I'll quickly do is just kind of scrub through a couple of my favorite clips, show you how I grade these kinds of projects. It's not really an intense process. If I have something that I really want to spend time on, I will go into DaVinci Resolve and really analyze everything clip by clip. But for something like this that I just want to pump out on social media or Instagram, kind of get it done quickly, this is still my go-to process. So you can see I have a adjustment layer right here, and I have another one up top that is just labeled LUT. So let me jump to a particular clip. So this one I actually really like. REI, if you see this and want to sponsor me, feel free. But let me go ahead and turn off this first adjustment layer, and you can see that it kind of makes a little bit of an adjustment there. And let's go ahead and turn off this second one now. So here is the pure S-Log2 footage. This is what you get essentially right out of camera, and I believe that I have not made any adjustments on this clip itself, which is a good sign. That means I exposed really accurately, which is not always the case. So just quickly run through, essentially I toggle this on. All I have here, and if I go under my creative tab, you can see this is just the standard Sony S-Log2 to L709 or Rec 709 conversion LUT. This is a LUT that Sony has created. You can find it on their website for free. It just converts the image to Rec 709. If you know what you're doing and you can accurately expose your image, right off the bat, this looks really amazing. There's not much that you need to do here. In fact, all I ended up doing was applying a LUT, and this is the same one that I used on the last video. It's applied by Film Riot, part of their Retro 80s LUT pack, which I will link below. Very fantastic LUT, and it reminds me of sort of a Kodak film Portra sort of a look, so that's why I use it a lot. Gives it kind of this golden, warmer tone and punches the contrast a little bit more. And so you can see generally for this entire piece, that's all my process was. I converted it to Rec 709 via the Sony LUT, and then I jumped in and threw kind of like a Kodak Gold Portra film look over it. So for this one, it was accurately exposed, so there wasn't a ton of adjustments that I needed to make. But let's jump to another clip where I had to maybe make a little bit more local adjustments to the clip and show you what that looks like. Great, so I've jumped to this other clip. So if you notice, this has the same Rec 709 conversion, and it also has the Film Riot LUT applied to it. But one thing that I've also done to this is I've gone down here to the clip itself, and I've made some local adjustments. So you can see I've brought the exposure down quite a bit, and I've pumped the contrast up. So let's turn these off, and let me show you what that looks like. So this is how it looks straight out of, well, hold on. So this is what the actual shot looks like straight out of camera. And if I convert it to Rec 709, that's what it looks like. It's a little bit better, but still a little bit too bright. And then when I throw that LUT on, here's what it looks like. So this is why I needed to jump into the clip itself to make local adjustments, because this was overexposed. And S-Log2, you are supposed to overexpose a little bit. Some people say 1.7, some people say 2 stops. It's supposed to help with the noise and the shadows. I find that this is sometimes true, but not always true, especially with outdoor footage. So for this one, nothing is blown out, which is the important thing. So that means I can recover the highlights. So what I'll do is I'll toggle this back on, And you can see by bringing that exposure down by -0.6 and the contrast up by 20, I was able to get this result. So let's just reset really quick and show you what it looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this down. Oh, sorry. You know what I just realized? My Lumetri scopes are not visible. Haha. Let's bring these back up so you can see these, because these are very important. I have these on an external monitor, and that's probably why you couldn't see them. So let's just bring them right here. So now that you can see them, I'm essentially bringing this down to -0.6 because I tend to shoot for my highlights, my sky highlights particularly, to be in between 80 and 90 IRE. That's a personal preference, and that's where I like to expose them. And then once I brought that down, it definitely looks better, but I want these shadow areas, especially where the shadow on the rocks is on this side, to be a little bit deeper. Now you could do that by bringing the blacks down, but for this one in particular, I think just by bringing the contrast up to about 20, that solved the issue for me. So throughout this project, I went and did a bunch of local adjustments to a lot of these clips. Like this one in particular right here, you can see I had to bring the exposure down because this is what it looked like right out of camera, after the conversion LUT, and then after the Film Riot LUT. So even if you look at my waveform over here, it's not clipped, it's not overexposed, but it seems still bright to me. So that's why I brought the exposure down to that kind of 80 to 90 IRE area, and that feels better to me. So here's another clip right here. I kind of did the same thing, brought the exposure down and the shadows down as well. And here's another clip as well where I've done the same thing. So you can kind of see that I am overexposing my S-Log2 footage, and it's just kind of ingrained in me at this point to overexpose it because that's just how it's worked out for me. So when I am shooting on location or I'm traveling, I am overexposing, but I'm overexposing just to the point to where the footage isn't clipping. Because if the footage is clipped, I can't recover any of these high areas up here. So if you notice, this is kind of what it's looking like out of camera. So most people would look at that and say like, whoa, dude, too bright. But knowing that I did not clip anything, I know that I can very easily bring those down in post and it won't be an issue for me. So I'll kind of punch the contrast, bring this down, and like that is pretty solid, you know? So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll just put these layers, this Rec 709 and then this LUT layer up, and then I'll go through clip by clip and kind of make adjustments to each one as I go, looking at my waveform and trying to make sure that everything matches pretty accurately with each other at least, especially shots that are in the same like location or timing as each other. So that's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm considering creating a video on exposing for S-Log2. I usually get that question a lot, and honestly, it's a pretty simple process for me. So if you are interested in hearing more about that, make sure to shoot me something down below. And if enough people reach out, then maybe I'll make a video on that. This camera and this lens combo is really truly the ultimate package for me. I own the Sony FX6 now and I really love that camera, but I still find myself leaning towards going to this camera and this lens particularly for a more lightweight travel camping setup. The quality is really, really amazing and I think holds up to any of the cameras that have come out in the last 6 months. So I intend to use this camera a lot more. So any S-Log2 questions, any questions about the Sony a7 III in general, drop them down below and I'll get back to you. And if you feel like subscribing, you can do that as well. All right, guys, see you on the next one. Peace.